What's going on, guys? Will Blender, nice guy driver, corporate hustler. I was watching Derek Whitehead. I know not everybody's familiar with him, but I started watching him. Kind of replaced the absence of some other content creators I used to watch. And he said something that made sense. I don't agree on everything Derek Whitehead says, but I agreed on this. You literally could build up, once you're beyond the first stage, and you build your main corporation up, which is essentially a holding company, you literally could just make it a acquisitions company, which essentially is safer for a holding company because you're not doing business with the general public, which is much safer. Your operational companies are the ones that will do business with the general population. And this makes sense because an acquisition company, you'll be essentially buying companies underneath this company, which makes it more valuable, but those are going to be divisions of your main company under LLCs or corporations, which makes a lot of sense. So beyond the first stage, you literally could guarantee your company with just good personal credit and some sources that don't require a personal guarantee. There are some sources that don't. And you could easily get to 150 to 250 in corporate and business credit. And you could easily find a business that you could purchase for that amount that's already generating some revenue. Literally, all it has to do is generate 10, preferably more than 10 grand. But if it's generating at least bare minimum 10 grand a month, it's valuable. And if you can get it for pennies on the dollar, let's say they're selling a company for $150,000, but you could get them down to 80, 90, or even 100,000, it's worth it. It's probably even more valuable than going to purchase a piece of real estate, because a real estate isn't going to bring you gains in that quickly. I'm not saying you shouldn't also purchase real estate, but that should be a secondary thing. I think purchasing businesses is more valuable, even if there's a risk they fail, because it makes your main company automatically, gives it more borrowing power. And then you can go turn around and go purchase real estate because you have that leverage. And now with the real estate, you could continue on buying more and more businesses. That hopefully some businesses, they're only failing because they don't have enough money. They're not all failing because they just don't work. Some businesses, literally, if you just gave them an influx of money, like an extra $10,000 or $20,000, the business would be more successful. Literally, that's all they need. Sometimes a business just literally needs more cash, and it can continue making money and growing. And once you made it grow, you made it more valuable. And now that holding company, what a lot of people don't know is not only can your holding company build credit, but each company under it can also build corporate credit. Just imagine if your holding company is just an acquisitions company You have another LLC that just does your online stuff, brings in maybe $5,000 a month. You have another one that holds all your vehicle, that's a transportation company that brings you in, let's say, another $5,000 a month. And then you will also set up a LLC to just hold your first piece of real estate. I don't think at this point you need an LLC for every house. You could literally just start with that one LLC, maybe get up to 3 properties before you consider starting a whole nother LLC. Each one of those LLCs, you could start building corporate credit with no personal guarantee. Why? Because they're attached to the holding company that already has corporate credit. You've already built your corporate credit on the holding company. You could go back to those same issuers for your LLCs, and more than likely they're going to give you lines of credit for that operational company as well. Now you have $250,000 on your holding company. You got $250,000 on your online business, $250,000 on your transportation company. Now when you're ready to go get real estate, it's easy. You go purchase a piece of property, and then you immediately start building corporate credit on that LLC as well. You only started with guaranteeing the business credit on the first initial company. After a while, it's going to be pretty much automatic with the business and corporate credit. And it's amazing to me that a lot of companies already have this setup, but they only built credit on one company. They're not thinking the long game. They're not thinking, oh, I should start building corporate credit on every single company, especially transportation. You go in and get the mother load of gas cards and just continue on building. Continue building more gas cards, even if you don't need them. And this is another thing I learned the hard way, because there was a time in my life where I was desperate for funding. Even the lending institutions that get you these credit cards, the credit card stacking companies, they tend to not want to work with you if you sound desperate. But if you come to them and you be like, oh, no rush, this and that, it is what it is. Companies love to give you money. Company and banks love to give you credit when you don't need it, because they know that if you don't need it necessarily right away, you're not desperate, and you're less likely to destroy the credit. Now, when I say don't really need it, you might need it, but you're not desperate for it. Like if you walked in a bank and said, I need $50,000 for your acquisitions company because you're going to purchase a business, and you walk in, let's say you walk into Bank of America, and you could be like, Chase already offered me 50, but I wanted to do business with your bank because I already have a relationship built with your bank. You don't sound desperate. And if you tell them Chase already offered you 100, they're more than likely going to match that offer, even if Chase only offered you 50. You see what I'm saying? You go in, you don't sound desperate. This is why I say you should start a relationship with multiple banks, Because if you start a relationship with multiple banks, you can pit them against each other. Because none of these banks want to hear that you got a better offer from a major competitor bank. I would pit the three majors against each other, meaning Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Chase. You're not going to compete with a Chase with, say, an M&T, because M&T isn't going to try to match a bank that is a tier above them. So you got to compete with the same tier banks. I would say an M&T probably is on the same level as maybe a Webster or TD Bank. So you would compete those banks against each other. But the three majors you could pit against each other, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, and they'll try to match what your offer is, even if you're lying. Get a real offer, it even holds more weight. Like literally, if you get a pre-qualified offer, and you be like, and it's a high pre-qualified offer, that's even better, because then you have proof. Then they're really likely to do business with you. But what he said made a lot of sense. I've been watching a lot of Derek Whitehead lately, and what he said made a lot of sense. The only thing I don't agree with Derek Whitehead is buying the shelf corps. They're talking about buying these shelf corps for like $14,000 to $20,000. And I think in this day and age, I don't think the shelf corp is needed. And then a lot of them are risky. A lot of these companies that sell them, they're selling you a company that has problems. I would rather start fresh with a company and do the no docs, get as much money as you can get no doc, get a piece of real estate under your portfolio, and then you really don't need any doc information, and just wait it out a year, wait it out 2 years, and then simply go back to that bank and just get more money. I don't see a need to go spend $14,000 when you're just getting started, only to find out that that company you bought has issues, and you're starting from day one anyway. Once that shelf corp changes ownership, a lot of times they consider that starting from day one. So you really just bought a name. I think you should create your own name, start from scratch, and just wait it out. Essentially, I have a shelf corp. I started out my initial holding company like 3 years ago. All I got to do is pay taxes on my company, and I have a 3-year-old company. That's my shelf corp, because I waited it out. So I'm going to do taxes on that company. I'm going to start a brand new company. I'm going to do taxes on that one. And I'll have my shelf corp that I need to go back to the banks and be like, I need more money. It'll be 3 years, the beginning of next year. I purposely waited. And even though you paid the taxes late, it still works. So it's a company that might have problems, but I know I got the problems, and that's just that I got to pay the taxes on it. And with the IRS, the government shutdown and all that, the IRS is giving deals. It's probably the best time in the world to negotiate with the IRS, because they're short-staffed. So if you got tax problems, this is probably the time to sit down, go to one of these. There's companies that specialize in this and work out a deal. 9 out of 10, they're going to give you a good deal on your back taxes, particularly right now in this situation. So if nothing else, the government shutdown brought us good news with that, because everything's short-staffed. Now with my EIDL, a lot of people don't know, but if you've been watching me a while, I do have an EIDL loan. Probably the lowest interest loan I've ever gonna get, like 3%, something really low. I'm paying on that. I had a couple grants, those were waived, so I don't have to pay that. I got a loan for like $72,000 I'm paying on, and it's a very small payment. It's literally like a car note. It's like $300 something a month. As long as I pay that, continue paying that on time, like I've been, I can literally go back to the SBA when all this government shutdown crap is over and they're back to business, because they're with the government shutdown. The SBA is short-staffed right now as well. But when they go back to business as usual, I'll be able to go back to the SBA and get one of their loans probably like that, because my credit will be where it needs to be. I've already got a track record of paying back money to them. So I should be in a good situation going into 2026. So I'm actually looking forward to this year just being over, going into next year starting over. I initially said I wanted to do my new holding company this year, but it's better kind of to do it at the first of the year, so you can start fresh. You don't owe any taxes. Because if I started now, I'll owe taxes on that company by the end of the year. So it makes sense to wait it out, start it fresh in January. And then I'm thinking about going back to a company I said in one video, NWR, because they have a program where they get you funding for your business, no personal guarantee. As long as you have all your ducks in line, meaning you have a website, you got your business address, you got your business bank account, everything's got to be aligned, they will get you funding with no personal guarantee. We got the pieces in play, guys. Time to take action. Thank you guys for your continued support. If you haven't already, subscribe, like, comment. I'm getting sick. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.